Well, if it isn't my dear partners.
That voice! It's Navia!
Oh, actually, since we talked about the reconstruction earlier, want to come with me and check out the town for yourself? You said you don't have any plans, right? So we can just catch a boat and head over. It won't take long at all. The engineer is still doing a few routine safety checks. We can head out as soon as we get the green light.
So, Paimon has always wanted to ask. The 3 Aquabus lines are all named after people in your family, right?
Yeah, that's right.
If you provided the Mora to build the lines, then why isn't there even a dedicated line to Poisson? Spina di Rosula built all the lines, yet you still have to take a special boat just to go home. Paimon doesn't get it.
Well, what I heard is that most of our businesses don't actually use Poisson as a hub, so there was no real reason to build a line straight to Poisson. You are right that it is a bit strange, though. If you've already committed to build 3 lines, why not just add a 4th? But that would only be the case if he cared about what others thought. My father was always really stubborn. Once he made up his mind, good luck getting him to change it. From what I've heard, the rights of all the other members of the Spina only went as far as giving him advice or suggestions, and no farther. That included my mother, too.
Huh. Well, that explains why you weren't on the greatest of terms with him.
Yeah, because I wouldn't just let him keep getting his way. He was just... not very agreeable.
Boss, the boat's ready. We can head out.
All right, then let's head out. It'll be a while before we get to Poisson. Let's keep talking.
Navia, what was your mother like as a person? Oh, Paimon, sorry. She totally forgot that you mentioned before that she passed away during childbirth, so you probably don't remember her at all.
That's all right. I've heard many stories about her from the rest of the Spina. They've always said that they were sure we would have gotten along famously. While my papa was stiff like a board, my mother was supposedly super cheerful and funny. Their complementary personalities allowed them to make up for each other's flaws. My father would run the businesses and expand our reach, while my mother would keep the peace and make sure that everyone was happy. Their work made sure that the Spina could grow and thrive.
Sounds like they were not just a well-matched couple, but fantastic business partners as well.
Yeah, but those are just stories and anecdotes after all. It's hard for me to piece together a more complete or intimate picture of her. But sometimes I'd still look at the Clementine line and wonder, would the Spina and Poisson still be what they are today had my mother survived? Silver once said that a name is a kind of inscription, a way to etch a memory into the world. When given a name, a cold, inanimate object can gain a completely new meaning. So, I will always associate the line with her in my heart. Over the past few weeks, I've also begun to appreciate how water can take in and hold our most intense feelings and memories, as well as how one may reflect on their past by watching the sea. I've lost many beloved people and memories to the sea. Even though I cannot stop for them and must continue to keep moving. We've reached the shore. Let's go. I'll show you the new Poisson.
Navia, do you think she's doing all right? Okay, Paimon supposes you're right. She's really been through a lot. It couldn't have been easy shouldering so much by herself.
As you see, I've been working closely with the boss on rebuilding Poisson. Mr. Malus was an extremely capable and respected member of the Spina. I've got some really big shoes to fill.
All right. There's no need to be so formal. Everyone's practically old friends by now. Were you waiting here for me? Did we manage to make any progress on the statue?
Yeah, we contacted a sculptor about the job, but they can't get started on sourcing a correctly sized block without knowing the design that we want to use first.
You're commissioning a statue?
So basically, we've been meaning to commission a statue of my parents in commemoration of everything they've done for the Spina and the town of Poisson. But since my father was known as Callus the Unfaithful for the longest time, it would have been too controversial to commission a statue of him. But now that his name has been cleared, and the town is also being rebuilt, I thought this would be the perfect chance to actually realize this dream.
Hey, there's no need to be so humble. Didn't you just help save the entire country?
I agree wholeheartedly. I also believe that Boss should have a place on the statue.
Hey, if you keep inflating my ego like this, I might just float off into the sky with my parasol.
Navia! Florent, guess who's back?
Huh? But aren't you supposed to...
Oh, well, if it isn't Coulter. Back already from the Fortress of Meripede?
That's right. I finally finished serving my time. Gotta say, turns out I was a lot tougher than I thought. After I got out, I immediately made a beeline back to Poisson. You could say that familiar, briny smell became a primal call, urging me to forget everything else and just come back home. You wouldn't believe how much I've missed Melissa's grilled fish. I dreamed about it every time I had to get a welfare meal down there underneath the sea.
It's good to have you back, Coulter. You look as well as ever.
And this guy is?
Let me introduce you. This is Coulter, another of Spina di Rosula's members. He was found guilty and sentenced to the Fortress of Meripede some time ago. But, looking at it now, it was probably another one of Marcel's plots while he worked at the Confrérie of Cabrières.
Wait, Mr. Marcel? What do you mean? He was involved in some sort of plot?
Have you not heard anything at all about the water from the primordial sea case?
Well, I know that Fontaine got flooded, but then the water levels miraculously receded. I thought that was all there was to it and didn't care to ask for any more details. Do you mean Mr. Marcel was somehow involved with all that?
Oh, looks like we'll have to explain everything from the top. That case, a lot of things have happened in Poisson since then. First things first, let me introduce you to these two. They're my most trusted partners, and they've been with me through thick and thin. Now you could call them Spina di Rosula's VIP helpers.
Oh, nice to meet you. I don't recall Navia ever generously complimenting anyone like that before, so you must be pretty amazing to get that from her.
Coulter, a lot of things happened while you were gone. As you can see, even Poisson isn't quite the same as how it was before you left.
They lost their lives, keeping me safe during the flood.
What did you say? This isn't some kind of morbid welcome home prank, right? You're just scaring me on purpose because I don't know anything about what's happened.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth. They weren't the only people we lost either. Many others, including Melissa, also lost their lives in the disaster.
Luce and Melissa, dead. They're just gone? Luce, I was planning to give him a surprise gift once I ran into him again in town. Florent should remember him. You see, there was once a major internal dispute regarding funding the construction of the aquabus lines. Romeu was the leader of the faction that thought such a vast sum of mora would be better spent improving the town of Poisson. But Mr. Callus believed that an opportunity to collaborate with the court of Fontaine and the Fontaine Research Institute was hard to come by, and would allow us to build many valuable relationships. Not only would the aquabus be a good business investment, it would also boost our reputation among the general populace, eventually paying us massive dividends down the line. But the two couldn't come to an agreement. Romeo ended up taking a lot of people with him when he left Spina di Rosula altogether, and the split was on extremely bad terms.
Ugh. And with Papa's stubbornness, I can definitely imagine how it must have gone down.
And of course, when he was suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous injustice, those relationships that he spent a fortune to build didn't help in the least.
I've also heard that they aren't in a good financial position, so they've been lying low for a while. But as long as they exist, they'll continue to be a threat.
Huh. I think Coulter's got a point. Both Marcel and Romeo had my father in their sights for a very long time. Even though Marcel's faction has been dissolved, we still don't know anything about Romeo's whereabouts. If they're still trying to get revenge on us, with how distracted and vulnerable we are, now would be the best time.
Good thinking, boss. We should keep an eye on them at all times. I'll let my men know right away.
Thank you for that, Florent. And Coulter, thank you for telling me about this as well.
Don't worry, it's nothing. Do you have a moment right now? How about we go out for a walk? I've heard so many incredulous things today. I'm finding it a bit hard to calm down even now. I mean, to think that I'll just never see them again.
In that case, why don't we go back to the court? I can pick up Adele's uniform while we're there as well. It'll save Laurent's guys a trip. Want to come with me again, you two? You don't mind, do you, Coulter?
Of course. That's fine by me.
How can you call this fishing when you're using a fully automatic rod?
What's the problem? Lots of people in Poisson use rods like these.
But shouldn't fishing be all about, attentively watching the float and then excitedly reeling in the catch when you finally hook something?
Well, that's one way to enjoy fishing. Then let's try regular rods next time. We can have a real fishing competition.
Honestly, Paimon's mainly shocked at how much energy you still have at this hour. Usually by this time of night, it's a struggle for Paimon to even keep her eyes open.
Huh. It might just be something that runs in my family.
That's a thing?
My father always had a lot of unrealistic expectations for me. But the more that he tried to get me to become like him, the less I wanted to listen to what he had to say. My mother never had those kinds of expectations, though. I've heard that she had only one wish for me, which was that I would have a happy and secure childhood. All the members of the Spina greatly respected her wish, so no matter what I did as a child, they were happy to humor me. Can you imagine? Whenever my father wanted to scold me for something I'd done, everyone would form up into 2 rows and just stand silently and listen to him rant. Malouse and Silver were always there too. No matter what Papa yelled, nobody else would say a word. Eventually, Papa must have recognized scolding me over trivial matters was pointless, because he eventually stopped getting on my case so often.
Paimon would have never guessed.
Yeah. Looking back on it now as an adult, I can hardly believe how patient and kind everyone was. When I was young, I often thought that I could do whatever I wanted, because there'd always be someone there to clean up after me. But once, I saw Malouse come back wounded. He wouldn't tell me how he'd been injured, but I could tell it had something to do with me. I learned then that there's always a cost to making a mistake. The more you care about those around you, the more you should care about doing the right thing, to the best of your abilities. Sorry. I shouldn't have brought that up. I wasn't planning to talk about sad things tonight. Basically, I was just saying that the nurturing atmosphere of the Spina must have been my mother's legacy, rather than my father's. And if that's the only way that I can continue to feel her love, then I'd like to pass that warmth on.
Is that why you let those guys go today?
Although, maybe there's a part of not wanting to repeat the mistakes of the past. I want to be reasonable, at least. Hey, look! I think you've got something on the line!
But why isn't the rod automatically reeling it in?
Oh, there must be something wrong with how I installed the mechanism. It was my first time putting one of those rods together. We can't let it get away. Come on, you two. Let's catch it.
You want Paimon to help too?
Stop wasting time! The boss ain't gonna wait all day. We'll go ahead with the operation tomorrow. Do with that information as you wish.
Well, your rod was missing a part too, so I guess that makes it fair.
Well, if we're just talking about the number of missing parts, sure. Oh, never mind. Paimon really can't keep her eyes open anymore.
See you tomorrow.